So I will explain you how to print this pattern. This is a star pattern and we want to print this kind of pattern. So how to do that? So I will explain in this program. So I have created one class. Basically I am using Java language. I have created one class pattern program, and in this class we have one main method, public static void main. And in this main method I have taken variables integer row is equal to 4 because we want 4 rows. That's why I have taken integer row is equal to 4. Then integer star variable. What is star variable? So initially we have to see at the first. So star is 1 because on the one first row we have only one star, so that's why I have taken 1. So every time whenever we are for all other type of patterns also we will follow the same kind of syntax. That's why it's important to understand what it is and how I am writing the code. So then we have space. What is space? Here if you see, we don't have star, means it's a space, right? So if you see on the fourth row, so there are total 4 stars, and on the first it's a 1. So if we remove 4 minus 1, that will be 3 spaces, so space will be 3. And these are the integer variables. So after variables I have one of the for loop. So this is for loop, and inside this for loop what I have done is I have two other for loops. So let's see one by one. So in the outer for loop is for our row, like integer I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to row I plus plus, means this loop for loop will execute for the 4 times. So for the first iteration it will print 1 star and 3 spaces. For the second iteration it will print 2 stars and 2 spaces. Then for the third iteration it will print 3 stars and 1 space, and for the fourth iteration it will print 4 stars and 0 spaces. So how that works? So let's see, we have other for two for loops inside the for loop. So this one is the for to print stars we have this for loop. So what we have in this for loop, integer j is equal to 0, j less than star, j plus plus, system dot out dot println star. So we have not used dln because we want it to be printed in the same line, because that's why we have not used dln. So we have just used print, and it will be start from 0 and it will work till star less than star, j is less than star, which means 1. So it will only execute for the ones. And then we have a second for loop. It's integer k is equal to 0, k less than star. Sorry, here is a mistake. So we need, it's a space, it should be a space, k plus plus. So after that what we have is we have system dot out dot print space. So this is the second for loop, so it will print the spaces. Then we have system dot out dot println. So it will basically change the row. After it execution of the two for loops, it will change a row from 1 to 2. Then we have star plus plus. What it means? In the second row we have 2 stars, that's why we are increasing star by 1. So that's why we have taken star plus plus, and we are reducing space by 1. So that's why we have space minus minus. And this is all about our for loop. So let's execute the code and check whether let's check whether it's correctly print the pattern. Yes, the pattern is correct and it's printing the given star pattern. So this is how we can print all types of star patterns. So I will explain other patterns in the upcoming videos. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I will explain you how to print this pattern. So how to print that, I will explain that. So basically I am using Java language. I have created one class pattern program, and in this class I have one main method, public static void main. So inside this main method what we have is integer row, that's a variable which is 4. So why we have taken 4? Because we want 4 rows, that's why it's a 4. Then integer star is equal to 4. Why I have taken star is equal to 4? Because on the first row if you see we have 4 stars, that's why I have taken star is equal to 4, and space is equal to 0, which means on the first row if you see there is no space, but on the second row we have one space, on the third row we have two spaces, and on the fourth row we have three spaces. So space count will increase that, so for each iteration we will increase space count by one, so by using space plus plus. And we are reducing stars, that's why we are using star minus minus, and this line is to change the row. Okay, so that's about our variables. So let's understand, this is for loop. So what this for loop does is basically, so basically we have three for loops, so those are the inner one. So let's understand outer one first. So integer I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to row I plus plus. So this for loop basically change the row. So so on the first row what will happen, that will be inside this for loop, but each the work of this for loop is just to print this all the things inside this, and it will work for the four iterations. Okay, that's the thing for the outer for loop. So what this inner for loop does basically is, so why we have taken space for loop first and the star for loop second, because if you see, so we are firstly printing spaces and then stars. If you see on the second row, say a third row, so then you can understand that. So we are firstly printing space and then we are printing stars. That's why we are using first for loop as a space for loop. Integer k is equal to 0, k less than space k plus plus, and system dot out dot print, and here it's a space. So it will in for the first round it will just give 0 space, because we have space is equal to 0, that's why it will not work. And then we have second for loop, integer j is equal to 0, j less than star, j plus plus, and in this for loop we have a printing statement, system dot out dot print star. So now we have initially star as 4, so it will print 4 stars in the same line, because we are using only print and not println. So it will print 4 stars. Okay, so these two for loop executed. After that we want to change the row, that's why we are using system dot out dot println. So it will change row to next. Then we are using star minus minus, it will reduce the star count, because on the second row we have 3 stars. That why from 4 to 3 we have to do star minus minus, and we have to increase space from 0 to 1, that's why space plus plus. So it will for the next iteration when I value is 2, uh, here the for loop will execute, it will print one space, and then it will print 3 stars like this. Again for the third iteration it will print 2 spaces, and this for loop will print 2 stars. And for the fourth iteration it will print 3 spaces, and this for loop will print 1 star. So this is how it will work. So let's print the, and let's execute the code and check whether we have written the correct code. Yes, the pattern is correct, star pattern is correct, and the way we wanted to print, it's printing correctly. So yeah, this is how we can print the given pattern, so by using the simple for loop method. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. In this video, I will explain you how to print the star pattern program in the triangle shape. So basically, I am using Java language. I have created one class pattern program, and in this class, we have one main method. So inside this main method, I have written the code to print the star pattern in the triangle format. Okay, so what for that I have taken integer row is equal to 5, because we want to print this pattern for the 5 rows, and then integer star is equal to 1, because on the first row we have only one star, and space is equal to 4, because if you see on the left of this star we have 4 spaces. If we have taken 4 rows, that means we have only 3 left to this, right? So that's how, based upon the number of rows that we want to print, the space will vary. If we want to print the pattern for the 6 rows, then here space will be 5, because one additional star will be there, right? So according to the star that we want to print, we need to update this space value. Okay, for the 5 row pattern, we want a space equal to 4. Then we have for loop. So inside this for loop, we have integer I is equal to 1, I less than equal to row, which is 5, I plus plus. So we want to print for the 5, that's why row is equal to 5. And then inside this for loop we have two different for loops. So what are they? So talking to first for loop, so here we have taken integer k is equal to 0, k less than space. Why space? Because we are firstly printing space and then star. If you secondly, for the second row also we are printing space, then we are printing star. That's why I have taken the first for loop for the space. Here system dot out dot print space, and this for loop will execute from k is equal to 0 to k less than space. Here currently space is 4. Okay, then for the second for loop we have a condition integer j is equal to 0, j less than star, j plus plus. Initially star value is 1, so this for loop will execute only once and it will print 1 star for the first iteration. And then after printing this we have system dot out dot println. So this will basically change the row after the printing of the star, and then we have star is equal to star plus 2, which means if we see in the second row we have three stars. On the first row we have only one, so the count of the star will increase by 2. That's why I have taken star is equal to star plus 2. And space, if you see, we have one space less compared to the first row, so we have taken space minus minus, which will reduce the space. So say same way it will the for loop will execute. For the second iteration it will print two spaces, three spaces, and three stars. So like way it will execute. So let's execute the code and check whether it works properly. So if you see, yeah, it's working fine. So for any kind of star pattern program, you can simply you can understand this code and you can print any kind of star pattern using this code. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I will explain you how to print this diamond shape star pattern. So basically I am using Java language. I have created one class pattern program, and inside this class we have one main method, public static void main. So in this main method I have taken integer row is equal to 9, because if you see the total rows are 9. That's why I have taken row is equal to 9. Integer star is equal to 1. Why? Because on the first row if you see the star is 1, and space is equal to 4, because on the first row if you see the number of spaces be, previous to the star is number is a 4. So that's why I have taken 4. If you increase this middle line to 6, then it will might change based upon the number of stars, the maximum stars we have in the maximum star row that we have in our diamond shape. So based upon that it will change, so that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so let's see for the current diamond shape. Okay, so I have taken space is equal to 4 because currently we are having 4 spaces. And then this is the for loop. This is important for loop. So in this for loop I have taken integer I is equal to 1, I less than equal to row I plus plus, which means currently rows are 9, so that's why I less than equal to row. Okay, so then we have for loop inside the for loops. There are two for loops inside the for loop. So here the first for loop is to print the space, because if you see the firstly we are printing space and then star. If you second row also we are firstly printing space and then stars. That's why firstly I have written for the code for the space for loop. So okay, integer k is equal to 0, k less than space. Currently space is equal to 4, so it will start from 0 to k less than space, which is 4, k plus plus. System dot out dot print, it will print the space. And the second for loop we have code for integer j is equal to 0, j less than star, j plus plus. System dot out dot print. So currently stars are only one, so it will print one star. Okay, so then after these for loops we have code which says system dot out dot println. So basically to change the row we have system dot out dot println, and we have important if else condition. Okay, what it is for? If you see for the first four rows, for the first 5 rows we are increasing the star value and reducing the space value by 1, and star value is increasing by 2. Okay, so if I less than equal to 4, we want to increase star by 2 and reduce space by 1. And after that fourth row we want to reduce the stars by 2 and increase the space by 1. If you see on the left side only, so space is only for the left side we have to consider, we don't have to consider about the right side spaces. Okay, so after fourth row we want star is equal to star minus 2 and space plus plus. So okay, so let's execute the code and check whether we have written the correct code and it should print the diamond pattern. Yes, it's working fine. So how it works is, for the first row I iteration I have already explained. For the second iteration, when I value is 2, this will print 3 spaces, because we have now space is equal to 3, and it will print 3 stars, because we have increased value of star by 2. So 1 plus 1 1 plus 2 is 3, so it will print 3 stars, and then it will it will change the row, and then it will check this condition. We have to increase I is less than currently 4, then it will increase star by 2, and space by reduce space by 1. So same way it will execute for the till its value of I is less than equal to 4. Then after that it will execute the else condition, which is star minus 2 and space plus plus. So this is how we can print the diamond pattern using this Java code. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. In this video, I will explain you how to draw this particular pattern using a Java language. So I am using a Java language. I have created one class pattern program, and in this class we have one main method. So inside this main method, I have written the code to print this particular star pattern. Okay, so I have taken integer row is equal to 7, because if you see there are total 7 rows. Then integer star is equal to 4, because on the first row we have 4 stars, and space is equal to 0, because on the first row we have 0 space. Then on the second row we have 1 space, then on the third row we have 2 spaces, and on the fourth row we have 3 spaces. So space count will increase from first row to the fourth row, and star count will reduce by 1 from 4 to 1. So that's how we are doing in the if else condition. But let's understand what is this for loop. Okay, so for loop. Inside this for loop, integer I is equal to 1, I less than equal to row, so row count is 7, so that's why we have taken 7 I plus plus. Then inside this for loop we have a code. So we have written code for to print the star. Okay, why we have taken the for loop for to print star first and space second? Because if you see, we are printing firstly stars and then spaces. That's why the for loop for to print the stars, it's on the first position, and the for loop to print the space on the second position. Okay, so inside this for loop, j is j equal to 0, j less than star, j plus plus. So initially star is 4, so this will loop will execute for the 4 times, and it will print 4 stars. Then this loop will execute this for loop, k is equal to 0, k less than space, k plus plus. So initially space is 0, so that's why it will not print anything. And then it will go to the next code, that is system.out.println. So this will basically change the row. After the first execution, it will change the row. And then inside this row, inside this if else condition, what we are doing is, we know that till the row is 4, we are reducing stars by 1 and increasing space by 1. So here I have written code, if I is less than equal to 3, star minus minus means star value will reduce by 1, and space plus plus, which will print space 2 times or 3 times. It will increase space value from 0 to 1, 1 to 2. And then after fourth row, we want star to increase by 1, that's why star plus plus, and then space minus minus, which will reduce the space after row 4. Okay, so this is how it will work. And for the second iteration, the I value will be 2, then it will print star 3 times, because we have reduced by 1, and it will print 1 space after this 3 stars. And then this will change the row, and again value of I stars will be reduced, and space will be increased till the row 4, and then it will star value will increase by 1. So let's execute the code and check whether we have written the code correctly. And let's see, yeah, the code is correct. We are printing the exact same star pattern that we have in the code. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. This video I will explain you how to print this particular star pattern. So basically I am using Java language. I have created one class pattern program, and in this class we have one main method, and inside this main method I have taken three different variables. Integer row is equal to 7, because we have total 7 rows in this pattern. That's why I have taken row is equal to 7. Integer star is equal to 4, because on the first row, if you see, there are total 4 stars. If this pattern would have started with the 5 stars, then I would have kept star is equal to 5. and space is equal to 0. Also, if in the first row we don't have any space, but on the second row we have one space, on the third row we have two spaces when we compare it to the first. So we have to keep increasing the spaces till the row number 4, and we have to reduce the number of stars. So that operation we are doing here. If I is less than or equal to 3, we will reduce star by 1, and we will increase space by 1. And when I is greater than 3, then in that condition it will execute star plus plus and space minus minus, which means star will increase after the fourth row, and here the space will reduce. So that we have to we have to consider this if else condition. So I will explain that once again. Okay, so first understand this for loop. Okay, what is this, what is inside this for loop? Integer I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to row I plus plus. So this means we are executing this for a loop from 1 to till row is 7. So it will execute for the 7 iterations, and inside this for loop we have two different for loops. So first one is for integer k is equal to 0, k less than space k plus plus, system dot out dot print. So here firstly we are using for loop to print the space. If you see on the second row, we are firstly printing space and then stars. That's why we have kept first for loop for the to print the space, and then in the second for loop we are printing the stars. So integer j is equal to 0, j less than star, j plus plus. So initially star value is 4. So firstly it will execute, it will print 0 space because we have 0 spaces for the first time, and then we will print the 4 stars. And then in this then we have next system dot out dot println. So basically it will change the row, and then we have if else condition for the first 4 rows. I is less than or equal to 3, which means when the value will be less than or equal to 3, which is this, up to this condition we want the star value to be minus, and then space value will be plus. So and after that we want star is equal to plus plus and space is equal to minus minus. So for the first iteration, for the second iteration, what will happen? It will print one space because we have increased value of space by 1. So it will print one space, and then it will print star 3 times because we have reduced star count from 4 to 3. Then for the fourth iteration, it will again, for the third iteration it will print two spaces and only 2 stars. And again for the next iteration it will print 3 space and 1 star. And again for the fifth iteration, I lost the count, I don't know, but then after that it will print the 2 space, 2 stars, 1 space, 3 stars, and then 4 stars. Let's execute the code and check whether we have written the correct code. Yes, it is printing correctly the pattern that we wanted. Yeah, this is how we can print the star pattern like this. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.